Hi, my name is George Frith. This DVD will hopefully help you to improve your badminton. The first lesson, the grip. With the right grip you can play the right shot. The wrong grip makes the shot that much more difficult. There are only three grips that you need to consider. The first grip is the basic or forehand grip. Now, if you approach the racket handle as though it's a hand offered you to shake, approach it, grab hold of the racket handle, and you should be looking at a V formed between the thumb and the index finger. For right-handed players, that V is slightly turned over to the left-hand side, with the index finger slightly apart from the other three fingers to promote a loose grip so that you can create more power and also change from one grip to another. And for left-handed players, that V formed between the index finger and the thumb is slightly turned over to the right-hand side. Be careful, don't put your thumb right on the top for the basic or forehand grip, because this is a grip that's called the panhandle grip, used when you're at the net to kill and tap off shuttles. So the basic or forehand grip, when is it used? Used when the shuttle is directly overhead for your clears, your drops and your smashes, low to the racket side, there, high on the racket side, and also, interestingly, the forehand or basic grip is used for the backhand. Some of you may think otherwise, and you will have been taught that when you play the high overhead backhand that you must change to the backhand grip, which I'll talk about in a moment. No. Retain the forehand or basic grip when you play high overhead backhands, because the reason why, and there is a reason for everything that you do in badminton, there should be, if you change the backhand grip, it is very difficult now to create power in your forearm and wrist. And also, when the shuttle is deep in and overhead on your backhand side, you're in the backhand corner of the court. Now, it's be very, very difficult to actually hit cross court with the backhand grip. Okay? Forehand grip allows that. And actually, if you want to hit very deep in the backhand court, cross court drop shot, then you would go to actually a panhandle grip. I'm going to cover that in more advanced tactics in a later DVD. So, just to summarise, the forehand or basic grip. Shaking hands principle, how do you do? V formed between the thumb and the index finger, slightly turned over to the left when you're right-handed and to the right when you're left-handed. Index finger slightly apart from the other three to promote a loose grip for power and ease of grip change. And use when the shuttle is directly overhead for your clears, drops and smashes, when the shuttle is wide on your racket side, and when the shuttle is high on your racket side and wide. The next grip that you need to consider is the backhand grip. The backhand grip is used for the backhand serve and short. You have long grip and short grip. Long grip at the back of the court for your forehands for power. Short grip when you're in the mid-court and forecourt. And a short backhand grip for the backhand serve. Now, backhand grip is achieved from a forehand grip by turning the racket handle between the thumb and the index finger, rotating clockwise. So, you're rotating and frictioning the racket handle like so. Without the racket in my hand, this you'll see clearly between the thumb and the index finger is what you're doing. That. So you can see clearly that the thumb and the index finger are key to the changing from the forehand to the backhand grip. At the end of the change, your thumb should be along the wide bevel of the racket. Manufacturer makes the racket handle with 8 different bevels. There are 2 wide ones that sit there and there, flush with the racket face. Okay? Your thumb should be right up against that wide bevel now. And now, the index finger, used to change from forehand to backhand, joins the other 3 fingers, and then all together, all the 4 fingers are now together and touching, and the thumb is on the wide bevel. Now, what's the backhand grip also used for, apart from the backhand serve? It's used to defend against your opponent's smash. Okay? You may retain a forehand grip, but some players will just switch slightly to the backhand grip and will adopt a backhand defense to their opponent's smash. There, and right out there. Yeah? That's the backhand grip then. Now, there's only one more grip to consider, and I spoke about it earlier, and that is called the panhandle grip. This grip is actually used by very, very many beginners, mistakenly, to hit overhead forehand shots all over the court, in the rear court, mid-court, and forecourt. That is wrong because they're not going to be able to create power. You need a forehand grip because now you're going to pronate or rope or turn the forearm. Okay? You need to do that because you're going to chop the shuttle. And that's the reason why many, many beginners and intermediate players, even some low-level club players, they play with their racket handle held with a panhandle grip, the thumb on the top of the thin edge or bevel. And I can understand that because they feel that they need to hit the shuttle square, but they're going to reduce power, seriously reduce your power, because you're not going to pronate. They feel, understandably, that if they hold the racket with the forehand or basic grip, that they're going to chop the shuttle there, not realizing and not being taught that they must pronate or rotate the forearm, which will create a lot of power in the forehand overhead shots. So, as I said earlier, the panhandle grip, thumb on the top thin edge, is used when you are at the net and you want to kill a loose shuttle. That's the use of the panhandle grip. Thanks for this, for listening in. That's the first lesson on grips. Hi, welcome to the second lesson. This lesson is serving. 2 types of serve, the forehand serve and the backhand serve. Let me demonstrate both first. The forehand serve. High. The forehand serve, low. The backhand serve, flick. The backhand serve, low. Okay. Forehand serve, achieved by standing sideways with your non-racket foot leading and your racket foot pointing out to the sideline. Shuttle held in your hand so, and dropped down your racket side. Racket starts off here and swings in a semicircle from here to here, striking the shuttle at the bottom of the swing, in front of the body, roughly level with the knees, or slightly above the knees, there, and followed through. Now the high serve is a big follow through, round to there with a lot of wrist, uncocking the wrist to send the shuttle back to the back of the court, high, and the low serve is no follow through, or very little follow through, racket brought into the horizontal. The forehand serve is used at most levels for singles, and should be. Most people that are playing singles, 1 against 1, should be employing a forehand serve, because it is very difficult for players to put the shuttle right to the back of the court. In singles, you can serve right to the back line, whereas in doubles, you can only serve to the inside of the 2 back lines, 30 inches between them.
Therefore, in singles, you should exploit the fact that you can put the shuttle high and deep right to the back line, make it very difficult for your opponent to attack you. And the best way to achieve that is with the forehand service. Most people will not have enough wrist and forearm power to be able to put the shuttle right to the back. Top players can. Okay, so forehand high serve. Again, let the shuttle drop, bring your racket down, forward, and with the wrist and arm, bring the racket through to the non-racket side, past the non-racket side of your head. Okay? I talk about non-racket side so that left-handed players can understand that. You have non-racket side, racket side. Right, yes, notice also that I am coming up, as I start the stroke, my feet are flat on the floor. But as I execute the stroke, my right foot, my racket foot, will come up onto the toe. Not allowed to bring the foot off the floor, that's a fault. So allow your toe to come up, your foot rather, to come up onto the toe, and you start with your left shoulder pointing and end up square. And that will allow you to execute a nice rhythmic swing and generate enough power to get the shuttle to the back of the court when you're playing singles with a high serve. There. High serve should be hit high so that the shuttle reaches its apex and then starts to drop vertically. This will give your opponent maximum difficulty. Okay. The forehand low serve then, to introduce a bit of deception into your game, you should employ a low serve where the racket now stops at horizontal, doesn't continue through to here, but notice I've still come up onto the toe so that I'm disguising my action. As far as my opponent is concerned, they only have my body movements to try to discern which type of serve I'm going to deliver. And if I deliver both serves, high and low, with a very similar action, that's very difficult to pick up. And so you have inbuilt deception. Again, the low serve. By stopping your racket at the parallel or horizontal there, you will also keep the shuttle low over the top of the net as it drops into your opponent's front of their service court area. So watch again, please. Low serve. And high serve. Okay, let's move on to the backhand serve. The backhand serve is used for all doubles games, level or mixed, but it's also used by the very top players when they are playing singles. Yeah? You have to have adequate power though to be able to get the shuttle to the back of the court, otherwise your opponent will soon guess and they'll start to move their receiving base forward, thereby putting pressure on your low serve. So the backhand serve primarily used for doubles. Adopt a backhand grip and short. Stand with your racket leg forward, rather. And there are many players, top players, who will serve square, but they have sufficient forearm and wrist strength to be able to deliver a serve to the back of the court in doubles. Again, only to the inside back line. What I'm advocating for beginners, intermediates, the majority of players, even league players, even county players, is that they stand with their racket leg forward. A lot of county players, they stand with their non-racket leg forward. Well, watch the top players. Yeah, watch the top players. There are very, very few top players. When I talk about top player, I'm talking about an international standard player. A player that you see on the television, perhaps not in England, yeah, except during the All England in March, or the Olympics every 4 years. but in other countries, especially Far Eastern countries, badminton is very big, and there's a lot of badminton on television in those countries. And in Denmark, yeah, that's probably the only European country that will show a lot of badminton. So, try to stand with your racket leg forward. The reason why is because now, with your racket leg forward, it's a more natural stroke. And you can bring your racket further back. There's a bigger backswing. And therefore, with a bigger backswing comes more power. There are a lot of people, they can't flick the shuttle to the back of the court with their feet the wrong way around, they're non-racket leg forward. It's also more natural. It's a more natural stroke to bring your racket here and sweep through. Okay, so shuttle should be held between the thumb and forefinger. Bring your elbow out. You've got a short backhand grip. Place the shuttle on or very near to the racket. Don't do that. It's too difficult. Too far away, and you'll make mistakes. Put the shuttle on the racket. That's what I would recommend. Physically put the base of the shuttle, the cork bit, onto the strings of the racket. Then whilst watching, bring the racket back and do not move the shuttle. And deliver a low serve with a push action. And a flick serve. No such thing as a high serve in doubles. The shuttle goes to the back of the service ball area in a flat trajectory, and that's a flick serve. So deliver a flick serve with a tap action, a tapping action, which will bring the racket back to the start position after the execution of the serve. Again, low serve, delivered with a push action. Flick serve, delivered with a tapping action. Be careful not to bring your shuttle too high. The rules on serving are that you must strike the shuttle below waist height. Where's the waist? Defined as an imaginary line drawn level with the lowest part of your rib cage. If you draw an imaginary line, pop your rib cage across, it's just above your belly button. So if you were to place the shuttle level with your belly button, which most people know their belly button is, then you're safe, you're legal. Above that, then you start to enter into the realms of illegality, because the shuttle will be above waist height. As far as the racket is concerned, the shaft of the racket on impact with the shuttle must point in a downward direction. That's legal. Yeah? That is illegal, because the shaft of the racket is horizontal and not pointing downwards. And clearly that is illegal, because now the shaft of the racket is pointing in an upward direction. So they're the two things that you need to consider. So low serve is a push action, and the flick serve in doubles is a tapping action. Let's look at that flick serve again. That's the difficult one. Keep your head and trunk as still as you possibly can, and strike the shuttle with a sharp tapping action with minimal movement of head and trunk. And the shuttle will go somewhere near the back of the court. Again, sharp tapping action. Thank you. That is the end of the serving lesson. Hi, welcome to the third lesson, which is returning or receiving the serve. Various things you need to take into consideration. Firstly, how do you stand when you receive the serve? You should stand like so. And when you're playing singles, you can afford to bring the racket down a little bit and come more into the upright. But when you're playing doubles, wider stance, racket up, non-racket arm up as well, for balance, and to give yourself a good posture, therefore your movement will be more efficient and quicker. And that's how you need to stand. Non-racket leg forward, racket leg back. Now, where do you stand when you're receiving serve? This is very, very important. It Depends on how quick you are as to how far forward you stand. The very top players are right up against the front service line when they receive serve. But they're quick enough to take the serves to the rear of the service court area. Beginners, this is my suggestion to you, which will help you. You need to stand halfway between the back service line and the front service line. So the back service line is different for singles and doubles. It's the back line, the extremity, the furthest line at the back when you are playing singles. So you would need to stand halfway between that back line and the front service line. Yeah? If you're playing doubles, you can afford to come forward a little bit, because now the back line for the serve is the inside of the two lines, which is 30 inches further forward. Now, what about width-wise? Well, it depends whether you're in the right-hand court or the left-hand court, and also dependent on whether or not you're a right or left-handed player. If you are a right-handed player and you are receiving serve in the right-hand court, you need to stand closer to the centre service line, so as to minimise the amount of backhand that your opponent can serve into. Don't forget, your opponent is serving from the diagonally opposite box, and if you stand too far forward, too far over rather, there's so much backhand that they can aim into, and you'll be in trouble. So close off that backhand there, make it difficult for them and easier for yourself now to take any serves that are directed towards the backhand side of your service court area. Okay? As a rule of thumb, about a quarter of the way laterally. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're playing doubles, don't forget in doubles, the server can serve out to the outside of the two tram lines. There are two lines running parallel on the sides are called tram lines. And if you're playing singles, stand about the same really. Yeah, perhaps a little bit further over, just slightly further over. It's 18 inches between the two tram lines, so just step over another 9 inches, yeah, over to that side. Okay, but the left-hand court is different, because as a right-handed player, if I'm receiving serve in the left-hand court, I would consider the front service line, the rear service line, yeah, so if I'm playing singles halfway, as a beginner and intermediate player, but laterally, I would not stand a quarter of the way here, too much backhand. I wouldn't stand a quarter of the way here, too much forehand exposed. I would stand halfway, yeah, between the centre service line and the outside service line. Yeah? And again, if you're playing doubles, halfway between the outside tram line and the centre service line, and from playing singles, 9 inches further in. Okay? Obviously, if you're a left-handed player, reverse that. So as a left-handed player, quarter of the way in from the centre service line, halfway in the right-hand court. Okay, the third thing that we need to consider when we're receiving the serve is what we do with our opponent's serve. Let's look at the low serve to start with. There are only two types of low serve. One you can't kill, and those that you can kill. If you can kill the shuttle because it's too high above the net, you should do so. Or come in, pretend to kill, and a gentle block into the forecourt. Push it down into the spaces. So attack the low serve that you can kill because it's too high above the net. And we're going to step in on the low serve to here. Okay? And if it's too low, if it's a good low serve, the second type of low serve, because it's coming over the net, close to the top of the net and dropping into the forecourt, we can't attack that because it's down here. So we must now block it. In doubles, try not to lift, because when you lift, low serves that you can't attack, you just gift your opponent chances to smash. Don't forget, in doubles, the server is serving a low serve and stepping in to threaten the net, and the server's partner is stood patiently near the back of the court, waiting for a lift that they can now attack. So don't give your opponent opportunities to attack you, because you will struggle to win points and games. Better to take the low serve you can't attack and block it. Most serves, low serves, will fall between here and here. So as a right-handed player, you should step in to take the low serve you can't attack and use your backhand to guide and block the shuttle just over the net on that side. It will give your opponent maximum difficulty and forbid them opportunities to attack. Okay? If the serve, the low serve, is directed into the side from, say,